In last lecture, we moved car class into a separate file, car.js. In this lecture, I'll continue, and I will start explaining you conditionals and comparison operators. So let's start. Let's navigate to our app.js back, and let's start creating some code. So first, I will show you comparison operators. So same as in mathematics, we have a comparison operators in programming languages. And especially in JavaScript, you have these ones. Okay, so you have I write it in a comments. So you have two equal signs. Okay, if you want to compare if the two values are the same, so this is equal to. You can write also like this, equal to, and I will copy it, and I will be just changing these operators. Okay. Okay, so you have equal to. Then you have three equal signs. It's the same equal to, but it is a different equal. I will write here equal to, but a strict one. All right. Then you have like this exclamation mark and a equal sign, and is not equal. So not equal to. Then you have the same with the two equal signs. So this is not equal to. So not equal to, but a strict one. All right. Strict one, and then you have a greater. Okay, so greater than. All right, I'll write here greater than, and of course you can look up all of these in JavaScript documentation. I will include some resources for you. All right, so then you have equal, then you have a less. All right, so less than, and then you have also greater than and the same, and the less than and the same. Okay, so this is like this. Okay, so like greater sign and an equal sign. This is a greater than and equal to or equal to. So greater than or equal to, and you have a same for a smaller or less than. Okay, so less than or equal to. Perfect. When you write expression in JavaScript, it will resolve into a true or false when you will use this this comparison operator. Okay, so for example, we can see this in our browsers. Let's go to our browsers, because our browsers use the same JavaScript engine, V8 engine, as a Node.js. So when you will inspect page in your browser, so just right click here, inspect. You can use here console. Okay, so let's click here console, and you can write here JavaScript commands here. So we can use here our comparison operator. So for example, when you want to compare some two numbers, for example, 8 you want to compare, and let's say 9. So you will say 8 is equal to a 9. And this is of course not true, because 8 is not equal to a 9. So you can see expression always will resolve into some value. When you are comparing, when you're using comparison operators, your expression will resolve into a false or a true, depending if a statement is a truthy or a falsy. In this case, 8 is not equal to 9, so this will be of course false. But when I will write 8 is a smaller or equal to a 9, this will resolve to a true, because 8 is a smaller than 9. And you can try all of your operators like this. So let's say 8 is equal, 9 is equal to a 9, of course true. Then you can say 9 is not equal to 8. This is of course true, because 9 is not equal to 8. When I will write here 9, this will be of course, because this is equal and this is like a opposite operator. All right, then you can use some other ones as I showed you here. So you can basically compare. You can compare all of your numerical values. Okay, so you can use equal to, strict one, and maybe now is the time to explain you the strict operator, because there is a difference. So for example, when you want to compare 8 is the same as a string 8. As you can see, when you use the two equal signs, this will resolve into a true value. Okay, so this expression will resolve into a true. But when you will use 8 and you want to compare three comparison operators with a string 8, this will resolve into a false. So that's why this is a strict operator, because when you're using two equal signs, JavaScript will automatically convert 8 string into a number, and it's comparing 8 to 8, right? Okay, so when you're using two equal signs, this will convert your string to a number and it will compare two numbers. But this will not happen when you are using three equal signs. You are comparing also here a string value with a number value, and this of course not the same. So this will resolve into a false when you are comparing a number value with a string value. Okay, so this is a comparison operators with the numerical values. And let's take a look how you can incorporate this into if statement. So let's go back to our coding editors. And okay, not this one. And we can create here some functionality. So for example, let's say I didn't show you yet, but we can use here if statements. And if statements works following. If a statement instead of an if here is a true, then code inside of the curly brackets is executed, and it's only executed if your if statement is true. Alright, so if I will write here if, and I will hardcode here true, the statement in a curly bracket will be always executed. But of course, you want to provide here some conditions. So let's say if 9 is greater than 10. Okay, this is not true, so this is a false. This will not execute code in a curly brackets. So let's write here some true statements. So if 11 is greater than 10, let's console log me. So let's console log me, let's say hello world. All right, let's save this. Let's go back to our terminals and let's run here node app.js, and you will see here hello world. If this statement would be false, so if let's say I will provide here back 9 or 0, this of course is not true, so this will not execute hello world. Okay, so you can control execution flow of your code with an if statement, and this is very important. You will use a lot of if statements in programming. Okay, so let's go back, and I will show you now else. Okay, so else. So as you can actually understand it, normally in English language, that's the same how it works in a programming language. So if this is true, so if this first statement is true, this will execute this console log and it will ignore else statements. But if this expression here will resolve into a false, then it will execute here these else statements. Okay, so if condition is false, then continue with else. Okay, so I will write your console log, and I will write here executing else statement. Perfect. So you can see here now when I will run this, so this is of course false because 0 is not greater than 10. This will ignore our if statement, will check the value there, and this is of course false, and this will continue with the executing else statement. Okay, you can see here if a 0 is greater than 10, it will resolve into false, so this will not be executed, but else will be executed. But when I will write here also, you can write here else if. So you can do it like this. You can chain here else if, and you can provide here another condition. All right, so let's say else if. So this first one is not true. So this is a false. This will continue in else if. So let's say else if 11 is greater than 10. This will be true, so this will execute else if. So I'll write here console log else if statement. Okay, now let's run it, and you will see that it will executing else if statement. All right, so if this is false, continue to else if. If else if is false, continue to else. Okay, if else if is true, continue with the console log and don't continue anymore with the else. All right, so I'll write here some false statement. So 2 is greater than 10. Let's save this. Let's go back to our terminals. Let's execute this, and you will see executing else statement. So it was ignoring this else if because it was of course false value. Okay, let's continue with this, and let's try to use some more examples. So I will comment this code here. I will just select everything, command or control and a slash here, and it will comment everything. And let's write up here some if statements. So we can use some if statements incorporated with our car object. So let's say if our car brand is a Mercedes, let's display car info. How we can achieve this? Okay, as we are comparing values, our numerical values, we can also compare our string values. So we'll write here if statement. If a car brand is equal, let's use 3 equal signs, if a car brand is equal to Mercedes, then display me car info. Okay, so I'll cut it out from here, I'll copy it, remove it, and I will write it instead of an if statement. Okay, so if a car brand, you can see our car brand here is indeed Mercedes. So if a car brand is equal to Mercedes, this expression will resolve into a true value, then execute me car display info. All right, save this, note up, and you can see we are displaying our Mercedes Benz. Okay, so it was executed correctly in our if statement. But then I will write here if a car brand is equal, let's say, to Mitsubishi. All right, this shouldn't display our car info because our car brand, in the case of a car, is a Mercedes. All right, so let's terminal, note up, and you can see, we can see here only Mitsubishi Lancer. All right, and for example, if a car brand is equal to car brand 2, or not like this, if a car brand is equal to car 2 brand, then display me car display info and a car 2 display info. This of course will be false because car brand is a Mercedes, car 2 brand is a Mitsubishi. This will resolve into a false, so nothing will be displayed. Let's verify this, and you can see there is no console log. Alright, so what we can change here is just a car brand. We can change car 2 to a Mercedes or a car into Mitsubishi, so our brands are the same. So for example, I will change it to Mitsubishi for a car. Now when I will compare it, it will resolve into a true and will display car display info and a car 2 display info. So let's write here node app.js, and you will see here Mitsubishi Benz and Mitsubishi Lancer are displayed. So we can compare values also like this, with the if statements. Okay, let's see some comparisons with the actual true values, true or false values. Okay, so I will comment this line, and let's see, I will create here some temporary variable. I will call it just a some condition, and I will assign to some condition will be false. All right, now I'll write here if statement. So if some condition, all right, if some condition, then execute me this, otherwise execute me else statement. So let's write here console log, and I'll write here executing some condition. All right, and in a case of else, executing else block, or executing if block. I will write here if block, executing else block. Okay, now you can guess what we will get here. Of course, we'll get here our executing else block because the condition is a false, so this is not true. This will continue only with else block here. So when I will run here executing else block. All right, I can write it as this. When we are using this syntax, we can write here also, we can compare Boolean value with the Boolean value itself. If some condition is true, then continue with if block. If some condition is some other value, so else, then executing else block. Okay, and this is the same as writing if some condition and some condition equals to a true, because some condition is itself Boolean, so it doesn't matter if we are comparing with the same value. We always will fit it up with a Boolean. So if some condition will have a true value, this will resolve into a true. This is the same as writing if some condition is equal to a true in the case of a Booleans. All right, so this will resolve into a true in this case because some condition is true, so this will execute a if block. All right. Okay, so this, and also I would like to show you the reworded syntax. So let's say if some condition is equal to a false, all right, so if some condition is equal to a false, execute me if block. Okay, otherwise execute me else block. Okay, so let's see what will happen now. Of course, it will execute the else block, executing else block, because we are comparing here if is a true, then execute if block, but if is a false in this case, so we are continuing with the else block. How can I achieve to execute if block when our value here of our sum condition is false in itself. Okay, so I can write here if a sum condition is not equal to a false. Okay, and that's true because the sum condition, our true value, is not equal to a false. This will itself will resolve into a true, and this will execute if. Alright, so now we should execute here if statement. Okay, so you can see here executing if block. Okay, so I'm just changing, I'm basically comparing with the opposite value because the sum condition is true, true is not equal to a false, that's true, this will resolve into a true. Okay, you can also see these examples here, so if a true is equal to a true, this will be true. If a true is not equal to a false, this is a true because true is not equal to a false. So you can always use a terminal and you can verify your comparings here. Okay, you can use all of the operators here. You can write here freely JavaScript into a console. Alright, so that's that, and I will show you shorthand expression. You don't need to write here not equal like this, and you can use here negation operator. So this statement here is the same as writing if a not the equal sign, but if a exclamation mark and a true or a false statement, and this will change your value, your current value to opposite value. So this is the same as writing if a sum condition is not equal to a false. Okay, so now when I will run this, this should execute. In this case, it should execute. Oops, not here. This should execute our else block. All right, executing else block. But when I will write here, if some condition is false, this will be executing if block, because if some condition is a false, then execute if block. All right, and I don't want to really confuse you here, but you need to try it by yourself. You need to write a lot of if statements. You need to write a lot of conditionals. You need to get used to writing if statements. Okay, so if some condition, okay, negation operator is exclamation mark, some condition, then execute me if block. Alright, and you can also verify it here. So let's say I will use here true value and I will use exclamation mark in the front. This will change it to a false, and I will use here false value, and I will use here exclamation mark. This will be true. So then I will write here if statement, or I can just write here condition if if statement if true. Alright, or if a false like this. Let's write me console log hello world. Okay, so if is not a false, then console log hello world. This will, of course, flip this false value. This will be true, so this will be executed, and you can see here hello world. And guys, I think that's enough. All right, we spent here like almost 20 minutes explaining if statements and conditionals, but now assignment for you guys. Check documentations I included in the resources of this lecture, and please try conditional operators, try if statements, and please be sure you are understanding them correctly. Try to compare your values from a car object, so maybe you can use a car type is equal to something, maybe car year needs to be larger than some year, and so on. So just write freely if statements, try it out, and be sure you know how your code is executed. And I'm encouraging you to write a debugger, breakpoint inside of your code, and debug your code so you are sure everything is clear. Alright guys, so that should be it from this lecture. I think that's enough for a if statements. We will continue with the if statements more how we will be progressing through the lectures. In the next lecture, I would like to continue with arrays and iterations. So guys, that should be it, and I hope to see you in the next lecture. Cheers guys.